Hey there, my name is Przemek, and today I've got for you the review of this album, City's Last Broadcast and Fractalyst, Phantasmora. It's a collaboration of two projects from two different corners of Europe. City's Last Broadcast from Umea in Sweden, and Fractalyst comes from Athens in Greece. The first project is, of course, by Per Böström. I would always say that his main project is Kammerheit, but in fact, in recent years, I think he was making more music under other aliases, such as City's Last Broadcast, of course, but also Eindlummedir, Hymnambule, and recently Trollslottet, where he performs Dungeon Synth, or Tea House Radio, which has released a wonderful collaborative album with Skeldos earlier this year. Fractalyst, on the other hand, is an alias of Dimitris Valasopoulos, specializing in an analog form of dark ambient created using modular synthesizers, tape manipulations, etc. etc. One album for Cryo Chamber on his account, and also some self-released stuff. This tape processing is also the apple of the Swedish musician's eye, so it is not surprising that those gentlemen came together to make some ambient. And this album, conceptually and in terms of production, is analog to the core. The first City's Last Broadcast album, The Cancelled Earth, which was great, by the way, was a fantastic illustration of urban loneliness, street emptiness, interrupted by the gentle whistle of the wind and the silence between large buildings. But I had the impression that this was a story of a modern city, whereas on the following albums, whether recorded alone or in collaborations like those with Atrium Carcery or Apocryphos or Nobody Disconnect, I think also. I think with those following albums, it seems to me that it looks like Per Böström was going back in time somehow, somewhere to the beginning of the 20th century, or the turn of the 19th and the 20th century, when this industrial revolution had already spread its wings, and obscurantism and superstitions were in retreat, but people were still looking for answers in parapsychology, and there was still a belief in ghosts or inexplicable phenomena, this kind of stuff. And not only somewhere on the countryside, where cultural and technological progress reached more slowly, but also in cities among the so-called upper classes, when often in fancy apartments, elegant ladies and gentlemen conducted spiritualistic seances, trying to contact their deceased ancestors. And it seems that this album is about it. Even Cryo Chamber writes that Phantasmora is an album about feverish madness, seances gone wrong, and about grandma singing in many tongues as reality crumbles. Also, the artwork is filled with photos of clearly fin de siècle apartments. Let me show you. It looks like this, those apartments are kind of observed from beyond the curtain of reality. City's Last Broadcast and Fractalyst try to capture the atmosphere of such a seance, I think, not trying to judge whether it was more like smoke and mirrors, or whether they actually resulted in some supernatural effects, when the boundary between our world and the land of the dead was kind of vanishing somehow. No, this is music of quiet summonings, whispered invocations, people sitting around the table by candlelight and holding hands, and those strange sounds coming from between the walls, those transparent silhouettes looming under the wall or near the fireplace, and the feeling of great mystery. And that suits me, because I know it sounds like a paradox, but I don't seek darkness in dark ambient, really, or at least it is not the factor number one for me. I'm looking for peace on one hand, the bliss and soothness, but also a certain mystery on the other hand. Is Phantasmora dark? Yes, it is, absolutely. But above all, it's mysterious. It wonderfully reflecting the atmosphere of the esoteric side of those times, from over 100 years ago. With one important remark, but about that a little bit later. And without this specific sound, obtained using this and no other means of expressions, those manipulation with reel-to-reel tapes, tape loops, or analog synths, this kind of stuff, this atmosphere wouldn't have been so suggestive, I think. Of course, digital instruments and plugins are imitating the sounds of their real-life counterparts better and better, and in many cases the final effect is satisfying, or more than satisfying. But on Phantasmora, I think they wouldn't be able to recreate this mood so faithfully with digital-only instruments. Here, every imperfection makes sense. Every nuance has significance. Few artists really managed to do that. I think Joyeux de la Princesse did it wonderfully. And even on Phantasmora, I find some references or inspirations from Le Joyeux de la Princesse, like in the 6th track, Cellar Eidolon. Whether they are conscious or not, it doesn't really matter, but Le Joyeux de la Princesse was more focused on historical and political issues. I would also mention the forgotten project L'Horrible Passion from Spain, who also managed to some extent at least to capture or recreate this retro atmosphere. But getting back again to Eric Konfal's project, on Phantasmora, we also have Paris. We also have the year, let's say, 1910. But on the contrary to Le Joyeux, we don't have any political rallies, speeches, and cheering crowds. Instead, here we have silence, broken only by these invocations whispered with a slightly frightened voice, Mother, are you here? Give us a sign. Say something. Or, since we are in France, it should be like, Mère, tu es là. Fais-nous un signe. Dire quelque chose. Yeah. Favorite piece on this album? Probably the 5th one, Bygone. Probably because it's the most intense in terms of purely human emotions, and when in the second half of this track this kind of guitar-like drone appears, it's oral bliss, and the last track also, the silken sanity in asymmetrical rooms, with this synth loop melody, which then it reminds me of some motif from some other dark ambient album, but I can't remember which one. I've been thinking about it since yesterday, and for God's sake, I can't remember. And maybe this is also what this album is about the fragility of your imagination and the kind of distortion of memories. This may directly refer this album to spiritualistic seances, invoking the spirits or something like that. But this album, I think, can also be perceived in a kind of broader scope as an evocation of the image of those times, not so distant considering the entire history of the world, but kind of filtered through the memory of several generations that came after that, through their reflection in cultural works created over the century, books or movies, and through how we imagine those times and those people today, their way of thinking. And this is that remark I mentioned a few minutes ago, because this picture, I think, of those times will never be 100% real, because we have never experienced them in real life. I would say it will always be our 21st century idea of it, imperfect but suggestive, and perhaps even artistically more affecting than the real reality of those times. I know that it makes no sense, but I hope you know what I mean. Just like today, so many works of culture refers to the 80s, often more appealing than the actual 80s as they really were. Although in this case there's also the element of nostalgia, because many of us have experienced the 80s in the childhood, so this image is kind of idealized. But getting back to Phantasmora and the time it covers, I mean, did those sessions really look like this, like I said a couple of minutes ago? Was there an atmosphere of eeriness during them, or were it just few people simply sitting around the table, mumbling something, and jumping in the chairs when they heard some noise from the sewage pipes, and we kind of romanticize that image? But even if so, it doesn't matter. As long as it works, there's nothing to complain about. And here it works perfectly. It's like a book or a film created in our times, but which, no matter what, will never give 100% truth about the historical era. There will always be a part of contemporary thinking about it. But as I said, it doesn't matter. It's often even better because it speaks better to our contemporary sensitivity. This is how I perceive Phantasmora, which is amazing album. I wouldn't even call it dark ambient, but rather kind of ontological ambient. It really takes you on a journey into the past, not only in words, in graphic design, in titles, but also in the music itself. Only the best can do that. Even if this picture is painted, this picture of a past is painted by today's artists. It's not that important. I think this album, Phantasmora by City's Last Broadcast and Fractalyst, is the highlight of this year's Cryo Chamber releases so far. Yeah. Recommendation, of course, City's Last Broadcast, Fractalyst, Phantasmora. If you like the video, please like it and click subscribe if you haven't done it yet, because as I checked the stats the other day, I've seen that most of the views are still from the not subscribed viewers. So as I said, subscribe it if you like. Thanks for watching and see you soon.